Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of KTN Weekend at 1. My name is Edith Kimani. Let's get this show on the road. South Sudan's rebel leader Riek Machar says he is suspicious of government's offer of immediate ceasefire. Machar, who is the country's former vice president, says he wants proper negotiations before his troops can agree to a truce with President Salva Kiir's government. KTN's Asha Mulu gives us the latest developments of the crisis-hit nation.
President Salva Kiir's government was first to extend an olive branch to rebel leader Riek Machar, a decision backed strongly by Eastern African leaders. The government shortly after released 2 political detainees allied to Machar. This gesture was, however, not enough for the rebel leader. The former vice president says he wants more: structured mediation talks, a leveled negotiation table, and his other 9 allies released from government custody. Machar's Twitter account also gave an update, tweeting a link to his last video interview since the clashes erupted.
It will not allow the SPLM to renew. We need the SPLM to renew by bringing in new cadres, young people coming up to leadership. But if the whole process of renewal is dependent on one person, the view of the chairman, we said we'll end up with an undemocratic constitution. And we don't want to be party to such an undemocratic constitution.
Even with an end to the fighting looking out of sight, reprieve was arriving for civilians caught up in the clashes. The first installment of UN peacekeepers deployed this week landed in Juba. The 72 officers from the Bangladeshi police unit, originally serving the UN mission in Congo, will reinforce the UN troops already in the camps. The unit will patrol in Juba to protect civilians who have fled their homes seeking protection. The victims recuperating at this hospital in Juba are among those that will be under 24-hour protection. Unable to move from their beds, they recall how they got caught up in the gunfire when the fighting began over a week ago.
I was not aware. I thought that maybe it was a celebration from night till morning. So in the morning I called someone and asked him what was going on. He told me that there is something wrong. Then I told my children to go under the bed. Then I moved just a short distance from the door and I was shot. So I discovered my arm has been broken.
The UN mission in South Sudan has reported that approximately 63,000 civilians are now sheltering in UN bases around the country. 25,000 in 2 Juba bases, 15,000 in Bor, 12,000 in Bentiu, and 8,000 in Malakal. Ashamwilu, KTN, Weekend Live at 1.
From the crisis in South Sudan to the latest political appointments, and it appears that political patronage and loyalty informed President Uhuru Kenyatta's recent appointments of parastatal heads. The appointees are either Jubilee Alliance point persons who lost elections or the Alliance associates. The appointments contained in a special Gazette notice dated 27th December saw the return of Ambassador Francis Mudaura into public office. That's the former head of civil service who has been appointed as the chairman of LAPSET. In Rewarding Associates, Uhuru has appointed his party Secretary General Onyango Olo as the Lake Basin Development Authority, while Deputy President William Ruto's lieutenant, who lost her re-election bid, Jabi Kilimo, has been picked to chair the Anti-Female Genital Mutilation Board. Political loyalist Philip Kaloki, whose bid for Makueni senatorial seat under TNA ticket flopped, has also been appointed to chair the board of the Kenya Medical Training College, while Agnes Ndete, who also played a role in Kaloki's senatorial bid, was appointed as chairperson of the National Drought Management Authority Board. Others who have been rewarded are Julius Kones as chairman of the National Water Conservation and Pipeline Corporation, Abdul Bahari to chair the Tana and Athi Rivers Development Authority, all allies of the president and the deputy president, among others. Now, their appointments take effect from January 10th, 2014 to run for 3 years. Out of the 26 newly appointed parastatal bosses, only 2 are women. Elsewhere, Inspector General of Police David Kimani has appealed to the legislature to amend an array of laws that will see serious crimes suspects denied the bail option after being prosecuted of crimes. Now, Kimani, who was speaking in Murang'a County, where a number of kidnappings have been reported in the recent past, said that many criminals have found their way back to society as their families can afford to pay bail. He urged members of parliament to address the issue as, according to the constitution, all offences could be granted bail. The security chief said with the rising insecurity and especially kidnapping cases in the county and around the country, the police force needed backing of the law to conduct its duties effectively. CID Director Ndegwa Muhoro, who had also accompanied the IG, asked the public to give information to the police on planned crimes and criminals to allow for speedy arrests.
Mtu na kuweka yeye kama ile tunaitanga kama ni slave wake au mtumwa wake, mama mzee shosho, mtoto mdogo, mtu wa katikati wa umri ameshikwa mateka na amefanywa kama mtumwa ya yule mtu amemshika, na amefanya sisi wote, jamii, familia, serikali, kuteseka kiakili kwamba tutafanya nini huyo mtu aweze kuachiliwa. Na ni mtu ambaye anataka pesa ya kura au kutoa jasho lake. Tunataka hizo sheria zipitiswe na huyo mtu awekwe mahali ambapo anafaa kukaa bila kurudi kwa wananchi. Sasa jukumu letu kama wananchi kwamba hawa vijana ambao wametoroka manyumbani kwao, hamjui wako wapi, mara wametokea, pashe polisi habari tuweze kuwachunguza. Jukumu yako ni kuja kutuambia fulani, mtoto wa fulani tunajua siku nyingi hajulikani mahali alipo, amerudi. Alafu tuachie kazi ni sisi.
Tension engulfed Moy's Bridge town following riots that took more than 6 hours when residents engaged the police in running battles over alleged laxity of security personnel in combating increased crime and killings in the last 3 months. Mercy Kandie with that story from Trans Nzoia County.
The Eldoret-Kitale highway remained closed for the better part of Thursday afternoon. Angry residents blocked the highway in what they say was protest over alleged laxity of the security personnel in combating increased crime and killings in the last 3 months. And so they engaged the police in running battle as tear gas was fired in the air to disperse the angry mob. What triggered the riots was the killing of a man at this bar early last week. He was reportedly stabbed severally and died on the way to the Kitale District Hospital. The suspect, a bar patron, is alleged to have killed 5 people over a period of time, stabbing them for not paying bills at the local bars. The skirmishes started when the deceased, who was stabbed to death by the bar patron, was being taken home for burial. All vehicles to and from Eldoret were diverted to Moy's Bridge Police Station to wait for the situation to resume to normal. Sources from the police said that the bar patron had been arrested and taken to the Eldoret Police Station for further investigations. Mercy Kandie, KTN, Moy's Bridge, Uasin Gishu County.
Well, to better news now, and we're talking about bullfighting, which really has put Kakamega County on the national map. What started as a cultural practice has gained such popularity, with fights now staged almost every weekend. That's a lot of fights. But have you ever wondered what it takes to train a bull to fight? Well, Rita Tinina has the details in the following story of Muhangala, a 300-kilogram bull which has won 8 out of 12 fights in the last 2 years. Take a look at this.
It started as a cultural practice, but bullfighting is increasingly gaining popularity in Kakamega County. But before the bulls can lock horns in a fight, it takes some effort and weeks of preparation by bull owners. In Malinya, Kakamega County, we meet Mukhangala. He spends most of the morning in his shed. But after a round of feeding, it is time to get out. And he knows the drill. He needs to be tethered before he can leave the shed. Once outside, it is evident that he cherishes the outdoors. And as if to show off his prowess, he begins pawing at the ground. He shows off some more, digging the ground with his horns. Mukhangala is a bullfighting champion in his own right.
Amekuwa akipigana saini karibu miaka miwili na amepigana karibu mechi 12. Ameshinda mechi 8.
On this day, he is taken out for a walk, but he chooses to end the walk in this shamba and embark on one of his favorite activities. Before Mukhangala can face off during a fight, preparations begin weeks in advance. Getting him ready involves more of diet than exercises.
Unamlisha vizuri sana. Unamlisha nyasi, unga, yatuka. Anakula mzuri, yani kila time chakula iko hapo.
Feeding this 300-kilogram bull is not cheap. His diet includes fodder and protein feed.
750 kwa siku. Ng'ombe wengine wanaweza kula 150 ama 200.
That means that in a month, Musina spends at least 20,000 shillings just to feed Mukhangala. The special diet aside, the bull has his own specialized doctor, and it has nothing to do with a vet.
Uchwe kuna daktari wa kienyeji mwenye huwa anatibu ya ndume. Ndio anakuja anaanza kuipea matawa ya kienye ya kuchua sasa kuiletea ukali.
And in Kakamega, the bull-to-doctor ratio is 1:1.
Kama anatibu ndume hii, hawezi tibu ndume nyingine. Kwa sababu huyo akitibu ndume nyingine, hizo ndume kama ni siku ya kupikana, alafu sishikane, kumaliza hiyo vita ni shida.
On the eve of a fight, the bull's horns are sharpened. His minders also give him signals to alert him that the big day is here.
Hiyo inaitwa kisiliva. Hiyo ikianza kupika, unapika na kuna vichuma tena special. Unaanza kukuonyesha sasa najua tu leo nitakane niende vita.
Mukhangala is somewhat a king around here. His minders have to calm him down from time to time, all the while he's outside his shed. And for that, you need a special stick.
Anajua ukikonga hiyo mti unamuonyesha mpaka yapo fika hapo.
Mukhangala, a Frisian breed, has been fighting for 2 years. Musina says the bull is still at its peak.
Sasa huyu hawezi tumika kwa kitu kingine, kulima ama kazi nyingine hakuna, hii ni vita tu. Siku ile ataritaya sasa ni nyama.
With Mukhangala's retirement inevitable, Musina, who says the bullfighting culture runs in his family, is planning ahead. Another bull, Mboko, is being groomed to take Mukhangala's place when he retires. Musina is planning further ahead. This young bull named Shikuku may one day grow up to fight in the league of the Mukhangalas. And by the look of things, Shikuku is catching on quite fast.
Vile ndume akishasaliwa, mwenyewe unamwangalia. Ndume wa kupikana huwa unaona ako na machachari sana.
Bull owners like Musina, however, feel let down by the county and national governments, which they argue are not doing much to promote the decades-old practice.
Serikali kiingilia alafu kuchengea ile statue ya bullfighting kama Spain. Mimi nimeona Spain kitoko nikiona kwa TV, naona Spain iko na mpango kamili. Ingawaje ndume inapikana na
Mukhangala here is on a month's break before his next big showdown, with fights now staged almost every weekend. What started as a cultural practice is increasingly gaining popularity here in Kakamega County as local leaders try to book bullfighting a place on the Western tourism circuit. Rita Tinina, KTN, Malinya, Kakamega County.
Well, the saddest thing about Mukhangala is to think that one day he will be beef stew for the same people who breeded him to be a bullfight. for bullfighting rather. Let's look at road safety now. And Kenyans are said to drink the most among all the East African countries. With the recent return of the alco-blow meant to eliminate drunk driving and ensure roads are safe, did Kenyans still have their merry this season? Well, Sharon Momanyi brings us the feedback from Kisii town.
With the festive season on, Kenyans continue to make merry, from house parties to beach parties and the all-time favorite clubs and discos. And as such, the return of the alco-blow on the highways to curb drunk driving during this festive season caught many unaware, eliciting mixed reactions.
To a big number of Kenyans, making merry involves throwing in a little or a lot of alcohol. We are in Kisii town, where we set to find out exactly how the so-called Mututho laws impacted the festive season.
Thomas and Lucas are cobblers in the town who say that the laws are well in place as it promotes responsible drinking and did not limit their merrymaking.
Sikuwa na ulevi kupendukia. Niliona watu walikuwa wanakunywa kiasi, hata kutoka hawakuwa wanafika usiku sana. Mwisho ilikuwa ni kitu saa 1:30 saa 2.
I think it's a good idea, but I think he should also extend the time from 11 to I think 1 or 12.
Mambo ya ulevi ni mtu mwenye anataka kulewa, labda aende planet nyingine yenye sio Earth, aende either Jupiter ama Mars. Lakini sasa Earth sisi wenyewe tunataka Wakristo wawe. Kwa sababu ukiona changamoto majali ya barabara imetokana kwa sababu ya mambo ya ulevi.
But on the other side of the coin, the bar operators in the town had nothing to smile about, with revelers being too cautious not to find themselves on the wrong side of the law, hence spending minimal time and money at the bars.
Tulisumbuka sana cause ilitulazimu tufukuze wageni wetu nje, na hiyo ilitu affect sana kwa sales zetu. Tulikuwa tuna-expect tukuwe na sales.
This particular club has gone the extra step of putting up contacts of taxi drivers, advising clients who are too drunk to make use of them.
Na hata tuko na parking yetu, mtu akilewa anapaki gari yake anatumia taxi. Sasa tuko na list ya watu ambao wako na taxi.
The National Authority for the Campaign Against Drugs and Alcohol Abuse recently called for the return of alco-blows and other tools to mitigate road accidents brought about by drunk driving. Kisii County Commander James Akoru says the area has not reported any incidents of drunk driving during this period.
All streets within the Kisii town, we have uniformed officers and even some officers in civilian to patrol all strategic points where we think that is prone to alcohol.
With the New Year festivities about to commence, it remains to be seen just how effective the drinking laws would be in ensuring road safety across the country. Sharon Momanyi for KTN in Kisii.
Thank you, Sharon. I love the person who said that people who want to get drunk should relocate to Mars. Don't know how that will work, but we'll take a short commercial break as you think about that. When we come back, we tell you all the memorable things that you might have forgotten about that happened in 2013. Stay tuned. Welcome back to KTN Weekend at 1. We're glad you're still watching. A new pope, the birth of a royal baby, and most recently, the death of an international icon. Carrie Cypher looks at some of this year's most memorable moments from around the globe.
After Pope Benedict's shocking, historic resignation in February, Catholic cardinals elected Jorge Bergoglio, a 76-year-old Argentinian and a Jesuit, both firsts. Pope Francis's short term so far has been memorable, from his common touch, like this embrace of a severely disfigured man that went viral, to his call for major reforms within the Catholic Church. In December, the world bid farewell to the father of South Africa.
Today, Madiba is no more.
Nelson Mandela spent 27 years of his life in prison, serving as a symbol of resistance against intolerance and bigotry. His time as South Africa's first black president was the culmination of the country's fight and victory against apartheid. In September, a shopping mall in Nairobi, Kenya was taken under siege by the terrorist group Al-Shabaab. The attack left 67 people dead and many more injured. The 4-day siege in the upscale Westgate Mall began when gunmen stormed in, going store to store, taking hostages and shooting others. As the civil war in Syria raged on, President Obama was on the brink of ordering a U.S. military intervention. UN weapons inspectors found, quote, overwhelming and indisputable evidence that the nerve gas sarin was used on a large scale. But the report did not determine who committed the attack. The White House blamed the Syrian government.
We know the Assad regime was responsible.
But a few weeks later, a breakthrough as Russia brokered a deal between the U.S. and Syria to dismantle Syria's chemical weapons and avoid a military strike. In February, a terrifying experience for Russians who may have feared the end is here. Stunning video shows this meteor, described by NASA as a tiny asteroid, sailing through the skies above Russia before exploding, injuring over 1,000 people and damaging about 3,000 buildings. NASA says it was a once-in-100 years event. And from London to the rest of the globe spread a big case of royal baby fever. Catherine, Duchess of Cambridge, and Prince William gave birth to their first child, a son who they named George Alexander Louis.
He's a big boy, he's quite heavy.
To their delight, the future king showed he was just like any doting new father, securing young George in his car seat and driving his new family home. I'm Karen Kefa reporting.
It's time to wind up this edition of KTN Weekend at 1. And I have two Did You Know facts. One is from me and one is from my director. So I will begin with mine because it's more interesting. Did you know there are more people in the world with these things, mobile phones, than there are people with toilets? According to the UN, 65% of the world's population has access to a toilet, while a whopping 86% of the world's population has a mobile phone. And now to my director's Did You Know fact. Did you know that M&M Chocolates stands for the initials of its inventors, Mars and Mary? That's pretty boring, right? My name is Edith Kimani. Have a fantastic weekend. Hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow. Stay safe.